Tough conversations are tough for a reason. It's because you don't want to talk about what you need to. And I used to spend a lot of time as a manager sort of agonizing over problems and thinking about, oh, well, what can I do differently? And to try to like change everything except to just like go have the damn conversation. And the thing about this is that two things. One is I spent a lot of time and energy sort of like worrying and fretting. People still use fretting, but worrying about what was going on and being anxious about it. But did that hurt the other person that I was having a conflict with? No, they had no idea. So it was just on me, right? So I was only hurting myself. And also, I was spending all this time and energy worrying about that when I could be doing lots of other things. And again, it wasn't impacting the person that I needed to have the conversation with. So, learning how to have tough conversations, even though it's tough and it's difficult, is totally worth it. And I think this is really like a sign of self-care and about um, being true to yourself is learning how to work through tough conversations because then you've got the tools to work through your conflict and you don't have to spend all your time sort of like worrying and being anxious about all this stuff that you if you just had a conversation it you wouldn't have to spend that time and energy, and you're worth it. You're worth figuring this out so that you don't have to, you can spend your time and energy doing so many other things than just fretting about this conversation. So today we're going to talk about 4 tips to making a tough conversation a little bit easier to get through. Tip number one is to plan the conversation. It's really easy to think that if you're going to go into this tough conversation that like it's going to be fine, I'm just going to wing it. Have you ever tried that? How many times did it work? Usually in those situations I walk away feeling hit by a bus because I it did not go the way that I had planned, and um it went like the things that I said came out the wrong way, and like everything just sort of fell off track, fell off the rails. I'm out of analogies today. But so planning the conversation is really key, and to think and to spend some time sitting down and thinking like, what am I really actually upset about? Am I upset about somebody's actions? Am I upset about the fact that they haven't like respected the fact that I've said I'm upset about what you're doing and I have to keep reminding them. Like a good example of this, an easy one is like dirty dishes in the sink, right? So you come in the fifth time and there's dirty dishes everywhere. Are you upset about the actual dishes, or are you upset about the fact that you've asked people continually to help you out and no one has done it? So trying to think through those, what are you actually upset about and what do you want to be different? Because those are the two things that you really have to have figured out in order to have this conversation. The second part of having this conversation is having an agenda. I certainly don't mean opening up Word or Google and come and like getting a template for an agenda and having this formal agenda that you give to somebody. Although you can, if I've had to do that once or twice in the past. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be as simple as in your text message, say, hey, I just want to talk to you about X. Or when you're emailing somebody, hey, can we talk about these 3 things? That can be an agenda. It just all you're doing is setting up ahead of time. These are the things that I want to make sure that we're going to discuss during our conversation. But remember that you want to put a boundary around it. So you don't want to be, you want to pick a specific instance rather than trying to think about every time this person has wronged you in the past year, 5 years, 10 years. It just, you can't change any of that. All you can do is change moving forward. The third tip for having a tough conversation is just set up the time to talk. Like carpe diem, seize the day. Like today is the day to do it. Don't put it off any longer, because the longer you put it off, the longer you have to hold it inside. So after you've thought about specifically what you want to change, then like set up the time to talk so that you don't have to lose any more sleep or be anxious or be worrying about this any longer than necessary. Just like get to it. And I promise you that the sooner you get it over with, it's sort of like that the saying like quick like a band-aid, right? Like just get it over with. And then you both can move on and you don't have to carry around all this extra baggage. All right. Then our final tip number 4 is just to be honest and open and genuine when you're having these conversations, and also to listen. The hard thing sometimes when you have been hurt is that it's easy to sort of say, you did this, and blah, here's everything I've been thinking, and then to walk away. And that can be really difficult when it's the other person who's just kind of getting verbally vomited on, for a lack of a better example, and then to try to move forward. So some of this, remember, is that you want to be talking about how you felt, but then you also need to listen. You need to listen to hear what the other person thinks and what their perspective is and how they've been feeling through everything. And then together find a way to move forward. That's the key thing here, is that if you're really going to make a change, is that you need to sort of both be able to talk about what happened and then figure out how to move forward. And sometimes, depending on how long you've had this conflict and what kind of a conflict, how big of a conflict it is, um, you might need to take a break after you've talked about how everybody feels before you can move forward or figure out how to move forward. And that's okay, but just be honest and be genuine. Remember also to take deep breaths. So when you get stressed out, your lungs constrict and you don't take as deep of breaths, and that limits the oxygen to your brain. And then you sort of like stop thinking as clearly. And so the more that you can just like remain calm and take deep breaths, you can even say, like, I have to use the restroom, and just get up and walk for a minute if you really need to, if you're that upset. That's okay. Remember to take care of yourself through this. All right. Remember, you're awesome and you are worth it. You are worth working through your tough conversations. And the more that you do this, the easier it gets, I promise. Even if it's not your favorite thing to do, the more that you practice these skills, the easier it will be. All right. So if this is helpful to you, click on the link below to sign up for our email list. We send out a weekly 3-minute leader boost that is seriously 3 pieces of content, because we know you don't have time for bullshit. You're busy. And so it's really just meant to be a quick way to consume some content that will help you do your job better every week, because at the end of the day, like, that's what you need so that you can be efficient at work, so then you can go do all the other things in life that you want to that are outside of work. All right. Remember, you're strong and brave. Keep rocking, and I look forward to seeing you back here soon.